A party, cameras flashing. Three people standing together for one photo, and one of them looks like he wants to disappear. On one side, Jacob Elordi, 6'5", a jawline built for the big screen. On the other, Margot Robbie, one of the biggest movie stars alive. And squeezed in the middle of it all, her husband. Look closely at his face in that photo. That is not the smile of a man enjoying his wife's movie premiere. Body language experts pulled that image apart, frame by frame. They called it a mixed emotions smile. One expert went further, saying it looked like the faintest hint of a cry for help. But here is the twist nobody saw coming. No scandal has ever been confirmed. No affair, no separation, no blow-up behind closed doors. And yet, for weeks, the entire internet became convinced that something, somewhere, was falling apart. So what is real here? And what is spin? Why does one married woman, simply promoting a movie, suddenly have millions of strangers asking the exact same question? What does her husband think? That question exploded the moment Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi stepped onto the red carpet together. Matching rings, whispered compliments, a co-star looking into a camera and saying, "I really love her." And somewhere in the background, a husband, who also happens to be one of the producers of the film, watching his wife fall in love with another man, on screen, in front of the entire world. This is the story of how a movie promotion turned into the internet's favorite marriage mystery. And what happened next changed the way people saw all three of them. To understand how this story took over the internet, you have to understand who Margot Robbie really is. She did not just become famous. She became an institution. From an Australian soap opera to Hollywood's A-list in under a decade, Robbie built the kind of career most actors only dream about. The Wolf of Wall Street. I, Tanya. Barbie, a film so big it did not just make money. It changed what a summer blockbuster was even allowed to be. She was not just acting anymore. She was building an empire, one film at a time, through her own production company, Lucky Chap. And that company was never just a business. It was a partnership, because standing right beside her, building it from nothing, was her husband, Tom Ackerley. They met on a film set back in 2013. No spotlight. No headlines. Just two people quietly falling for each other while nobody was watching. By 2016, they were married. While Robbie's face went on every magazine cover in the world, Ackerley stayed exactly where he wanted to be. Behind the camera, out of frame, making sure the machine kept running. For years, that arrangement looked perfect. Robbie, the face. Ackerley, the foundation. She said it herself once, almost in passing. She called herself lucky because he was not fazed by any of it. It sounded like the one marriage in Hollywood that was actually built to last. Then came the project Robbie had wanted for years. A new adaptation of Wuthering Heights, directed by Emerald Fennell. Robbie would produce it. Ackerley would produce it too. And standing opposite her, playing Heathcliff, the obsessive, consuming, impossible to look away from love interest, was Jacob Elordi. On paper, it looked like two people expanding their empire. But underneath, something else was quietly building. Because Wuthering Heights is not just any love story. It is one of the most intense, all-consuming romances ever written. And the two people chosen to bring it to life were about to get very, very close. At first, nobody thought much of it. Casting news came, fans debated it, and life moved on. But that was before the photos started, before the interviews started, before people began asking a question that had nothing to do with the movie at all. What was really going on between Margot Robbie and her co-star? And more than that, how was her husband, standing just a few feet away through all of it, actually holding himself together? The first crack in the calm did not come from a scandal. It came from a photo shoot. A major fashion magazine ran a feature on Robbie and Elordi before the film's release. The images showed them standing impossibly close, staring at each other like the cameras were not even there. In the interview beside it, Elordi did not hold back. He talked about her with the kind of intensity people usually save for someone they actually love. "I really love her," he said. "I really didn't want to let her down." On its own, that is just an actor praising his co-star. But paired with those photos, and paired with the fact that Robbie was already married, it did not read like promotion anymore. People read it like a confession. Then Robbie added fuel without even meaning to. In another interview, she described filming on Valentine's Day, how Elordi, fully in character, surprised her with a dressing room full of roses. It was meant to be a story about craft, about two actors building a fictional romance for the screen. But that is not how the internet took it. Clips spread fast, stripped of context, captioned with things like, "Does her husband know about this?" The comments filled instantly. Thousands of strangers, all asking the same question, about a marriage none of them actually knew anything about. And that is when things started to shift. Not because anything scandalous had actually happened, but because the internet decided it did not need anything to happen. All it needed was a rumor, and one good photo. Because underneath all that noise, there was one person who had not said a single word publicly. Tom Ackerley. Silence is a strange thing in Hollywood. Sometimes it means nothing happened. Sometimes it is the loudest sound in the room. As the press tour rolled on, Ackerley said nothing. No statement, no denial, no joke to shut it all down. And in that silence, the tabloids rushed in to speak for him. Anonymous sources started appearing everywhere, claiming he was struggling behind closed doors. One outlet quoted an insider saying it must be humiliating for him, watching his wife promote a film built entirely on her chemistry with another man. Another report claimed his friends were quietly warning him that Elordi, in their words, could be a wolf in sheep's clothing. That the whole situation had become, as one source put it, toxic. But almost nobody pointed out the obvious. None of it was confirmed. No named source. No quote from Ackerley himself. No statement from Robbie addressing any rift at all. Just anonymous claims, stacked on top of each other, repeated across enough headlines that they slowly started to feel true. And then came the gift that made everything worse. Head of the premiere, Robbie gave Elordi a custom signet ring, engraved with a line taken straight from Bronte's novel. "Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." To fans of the film, it was a beautiful nod to the source material. To the tabloids, it was something else entirely. Screenshots of that ring spread everywhere within hours. Headlines called it matching, the same word people use for engagement jewelry. For couples, for people who belong to each other. This was not just a photo shoot rumor anymore. It had become a symbol. And the pressure on a man who still had not said one public word kept climbing. Then came the party. After the premiere, Robbie, Elordi, and Ackerley all ended up in the same room. The same after-party. The same wall of cameras. For weeks, people had only been speculating from a distance. Now, for the first time, all three of them were standing together. Live, in front of the entire world. The internet held its breath. Photos from that night spread within minutes. Robbie stood at the center of the group. Elordi stood on one side, and Ackerley, her husband, stood on the other, not beside his own wife, at the far edge of the frame. It should have meant nothing. Group photos are chaotic. People stand wherever there is space. But that is not how it was read. A body language expert studied the images for a major outlet, and her verdict spread everywhere. His expression was not relaxed. It was strained, a mixed emotions smile. The kind of face someone wears when they are trying very hard to convince a room that everything is fine. She pointed out something else, too. He was not posed next to his own wife, at her own premiere, On the biggest night of this entire press tour, within hours, that single photo was everywhere. Screenshots, reaction videos, think pieces asking what it meant for a man to smile like that, standing next to the person the tabloids were calling a threat to his marriage. But no one asked Ackerley what he was actually feeling in that moment. No one asked if he was simply exhausted after months of flashing cameras and forced smiles. No one considered that a man standing at the edge of a group photo might just be a man standing at the edge of a group photo. The truth behind this moment turned out to be far more surprising than anyone expected. Because, while the internet built an entire story out of one photograph, the people at the center of it were doing something almost nobody predicted. Nothing at all. As the rumors kept spreading, the reality quietly stayed exactly the same. Robbie and Ackerley did not split. There was no statement announcing a separation. No leaked argument. No dramatic confrontation between husband and co-star. For all the noise, the marriage everyone was so certain was collapsing never once showed a single confirmed crack. And the more you looked at the full picture, the less it looked like a scandal. And the more it looked like something else entirely. Ackerley was not just Robbie's husband, standing awkwardly on the sidelines of someone else's story. He was one of the producers of this film. He helped build the very project now fueling rumors about his own marriage. That is not the position of a man blindsided by his wife's career. That is the position of a man who understood, better than almost anyone watching from home, exactly what this press tour would look like, and chose to walk into it anyway. One outlet finally said what nobody else wanted to. Showmance rumors sell movie tickets. Two co-stars gushing over each other in interviews is not new, and it is not rare. It is one of the oldest marketing tools in Hollywood. Robbie and Ackerley run a production company together. They understand how buzz gets built better than almost anyone reading these headlines from the outside. So, was any of it real? Was there genuine tension behind those closed doors? The kind no outsider could ever truly confirm? Maybe. Marriages are complicated, and nobody outside of one ever really knows what happens inside it. But the version being sold to the public, the humiliated husband, the secret threat, the forced smile hiding a broken heart, was never actually proven by a single person willing to put their name on it. Before we get to where things stand now, there is one more thing worth sitting with. Months before any of this started, Robbie had said something almost nobody bothered to bring back up. She called herself lucky. She said her husband was not fazed by any of this. Maybe she meant that more than anyone gave her credit for. Wuthering Heights went on to release exactly as planned, with Robbie and Elordi's chemistry becoming one of the most talked-about parts of the entire campaign. Robbie and Ackerley stayed married, still running Lucky Chap together, still raising their son together, staying as far from the noise as two of the most famous people on Earth possibly could. No confession ever came. No breakup ever happened. Just a very public press tour, months of speculation, and a marriage that, as far as anyone can actually confirm, is still standing. And maybe that is the real twist in this entire story. Not a scandal, not a betrayal. Just a reminder of how easily a rumor can start to feel like a fact, once enough people repeat it, and how quiet the truth can sound by comparison. So tell me what you think really happened behind those cameras. Was Tom Ackerley truly struggling with all of it? Or was this just another Hollywood press tour turned into a story by people who never met any of them? Drop your take in the comments below. And if you want more stories like this one, pulling apart the real drama behind Hollywood's biggest headlines, subscribe, because there is a lot more where this came from.